All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in today's webinar. My name is Shailesh Mbora, and I'll be taking you through today's webinar. First off, again, thanks for joining us on our ETRAGE webinar series. We typically host a different variety of topics within the design and manufacturing industry, usually about twice a month. You can find future webinars at etrage.com under events. And next, a few housekeeping items. Everyone is muted. If you have a question, please use the Q&A icon on the screen. If you're not able to, if we can't answer your question during today's session, if you can't get to it, we will follow up with you after the webinar, right? And a recording will be available on our YouTube channel, the ETRAGE YouTube channel, later on this week. And so here's the agenda. We'll start off, with a quick introduction. Who is ETRAGE? And then we'll dive into the topic for the day. So cloud hosting for Windchill. We'll talk about any key capabilities and features, right? And then our remote support as well. And then finally we'll run it off with some questions and answers, right? And by way of introduction, so I'll first give an introduction to myself. So I am Shailesh Mbora. I'm senior technical lead, CAD systems at ETRAGE. I've been working with Windchill and PTC products now for over a decade. And for me, my specialty is in helping customers utilize CAD and PLM efficiently, right? Whether that's in the setup side or with training and consulting. I've done it all with large and small and medium-sized companies. Now, ETRAGE as a whole, or as a company, right? So we're a software development company. Started in the early 2000s. We've been a PTC Windchill technology partner for over 20 years, right? And our mission is to help customers adopt PLM through the system, right? Or I guess through the enterprise, I should say. And usually we do that by number one, identifying gaps in infrastructure and concerns with end user usage, right? And then, being able to bridge those gaps by migrating design data between systems, right? Automating design and process tasks, all with the goal of extending PLM data from engineering to all the parts of the organization, and enterprise that need them, including vendors as well, right? Right. And so really our goal is is to enable enterprise-wide PLM adoption, right? Through our specialized software and services, right? Which you can see listed here at the bottom, in order to streamline, integration, right? Boost efficiencies and ensure compliance, and ultimately for you, the end customers, to deliver strategic value, right? So here, some of the products we use to accomplish that will be, I think our flagship products are usually the ETRAGE publisher for Windchill and the viewer for Windchill, right? And these enable you to take, Windchill assets and broadcast and spread them out, to other repositories and or databases that are consumable, throughout other parts of the organization, right? As well as a few other products we have as well, right? And then on our services side, we do a lot of cloud hosting, custom app development, and also training on a wide variety of Creo and Windchill topics, just to name a few of our services as well, right? And now, who have we done this for, right? So far, I would say our customers, again, are the bigger brand name ones you can see on the right, right? But ultimately, our customers are designers, manufacturers, small, large enterprises, and everything in between. But the common theme between them is, the companies that need to automate and share, typically engineering data, between design systems, right? To share data, and ultimately with the goal of having a single digital thread, right? Through all those disparate and disconnected databases, right? And that's who our customers are, and that's who we support, right? And how do we do that, right? So we do that with our service staff of, with decades of experience, right? So we have, between us, domestically, we have 15, Windchill cloud support staffers, and 30 non-domestic spread all over the globe, right, to ensure that we can give you global round-the-clock coverage and support. And on the cloud hosting side, we have almost 20 years of continuous experience, on that, with more than 20 years in terms of the Windchill application specifically, right? So all that being said, now main topic for the day, cloud hosting for Windchill, right? So what is that in general, right? So I would say cloud hosting is essentially where you're able to requisition cloud hardware and or resources, right? So that would be a network, systems, VMs, and or any application, right, to be able to run your PLM or PDM environment on the cloud, right? And so usually this is a single tenant environment, right? So so there's no data sharing or multi-tenancy, and the environment is customized to your specifications, right? And then we do this, on world-class architecture that's highly scalable, right? And again, we do this with our expertise and our team of 20 plus years of Windchill experience to ensure that we can ensure uptime of over 99.5% uptime, and ensure that we essentially become an extension of your IT team to keep your PLM system running at all times, right? So what all of this means, right, that you get many of the advantages and benefits of the cloud in terms of security and compliance, right? So we can ensure using access controls, right, to ensure that the right people within your organization that need to access your data can see the data, right? Encryption, right, at rest and in transit, right, and also any many other tools that cloud enables, like backup and recovery, multi-factor authentication, regular updates and vulnerability management. And as part of that, I can also do a data migration as well, from on-prem or from cloud into our cloud, right? SSO and many others as well. So that's just kind of a high-level overview, right? And so I'll go ahead and dive into each of these, in a little bit more detail, right? So first off, when it comes to the database options, right? So we can support both, Oracle and SQL databases, right? Or also we have, Oracle to SQL migrations, right? That we can also perform as well, right? So on the database side, in addition to just setting that up, right? We also have, periodic, backup and recovery, right? And that could either be, monthly and also, yearly backups, right? We offer full and incremental backups, right? And we also do, where we set up backup staging directories, right? And in addition to that, we also, take snapshots of the VM for disaster recovery, right? To ensure that, you can back up and running as quickly as possible, right? In addition, we have, on the flexibility side in terms of, of the environment itself, right? So Windchill is highly customizable, right? And we can do that with you in terms of, setting up your lifecycle states, workflows, the object types, change management, contexts, roles, policies, everything about that, users as well. It's fully customizable, and we can customize that to your unique needs, right? And your unique business processes, right? Also, it's, multi-CAD platforms are supported. So, some companies are, have multiple CAD systems within the same organization, and we can support that, as well. When it comes to, the security piece, right? That's one of the big questions oftentimes with people is, if for data on the cloud, how do I know that my data is secure, right? And it's not somehow publicly viewable or accessible by a competitor, for example, right? And for us, we'd say, in addition to all the cloud security tools available, right, we offer, number one, access controls, right? You can use, multi-factor authentication, right? We can also, do, single sign-on using Active Directory, right? And ultimately with role-based access control, right, enforced through Windchill, we're ensuring that only people within your organization that need access to your data can see that data with the right level of access, right? Now, in addition to all of that, again, we also set this up, with the appropriate, networking and security as well, right? So to ensure that, in your case, people outside your network, don't even know that your Windchill environment exists, right? So there's no risk of from that standpoint, right? Security-wise, I should say. Now, in addition to all of that, right, one of the things that makes us, unique and distinctive, right, is that, we also offer, connection to, ERP and also other, systems as well, right? And that's one of the things that makes us unique, is because we don't just stop at PLM, right? We want to make sure that the beauty and the benefits of PLM are, disseminated to other parts of the enterprise, right? I can't tell you, how many times I've been to manufacturing companies where, whether it's talking to purchasing or whether it's talking to quality or inspection or the service department, and oftentimes the common quote is, well, we have that data, but engineering does not share that with us, right? Well, we want to make sure we bridge that gap, because ultimately, the enterprise functioning at full force and full strength and delivering full value, involves having the engineering data permeating through every part of the enterprise, right? And so we want to make sure that we can offer our expertise in connecting other disparate systems together to ensure that again, as an enterprise, you reach your highest and best goals and get value out of your PLM investment. Now, once the system is installed, we also provide any security patches, right? And also in addition to that, security updates, right? And also then threat and vulnerability management to ensure that your data is not compromised, right? At any level. And then on the system side, we provide monitoring and support, right, to ensure that publishers, CAD workers, and any other servers are working well, and there's no backlog, right? And also then, any performance tuning on the Windchill side to ensure that, for example, it's not taking too long to load results and search queries, right? And then on the business side, we provide, end user support, and so that would include, training and or mentoring, right? And also in technical support, as users who try to, use, Windchill on the daily basis and have any issues with it as well, right? Now, so some of our add-on services, again, which will be typically necessary with the move to the cloud, right, would be a data migration, right? And these are things that we can also spec out, with you, as a part of a consultative call as well. Would be, whether you're moving, from an on-prem Windchill, or on-prem non-Windchill location, right? We can do all of that. You move that to an ETRAGE hosted cloud environment, or whether you're moving from another hosted cloud environment to ETRAGE hosted cloud, we can also do that as well, right? And for us, we have custom proprietary bulk loading tools to ensure that the data is loaded quickly and efficiently, right? Again, while also minimizing cost as well. Okay, now in addition to everything I just mentioned so far, we also provide remote support, right, for the cloud environment as well, to ensure that any routine maintenance tasks, right, or any ongoing maintenance tasks, are taken care of, right, to keep the system functioning. Plus, also, any emergency maintenance tasks, are taken care of as well to ensure that there's no vulnerability, right, or that the system isn't down. And then in addition to that, we also offer, proactive, monitoring tools to ensure that, issues are caught, before, for example, the system goes down, right? And if, for example, the vault is about to get full 89, running at, 70, 80, 90% or so, that, we can, add additional storage to it to ensure that, that all of a sudden you're not, caught dead in the water, right? In terms of not being able to launch or use or save, inside of your PLM system. And we provide end user support, right? All tracked and managed with the ticketing system, right, to ensure that nothing falls through the cracks, and end users have access to resources they need to be able to be up and running quickly and efficiently, and they're not, and the PLM system is not a hindrance, right, to the productivity. Rather, it's a multiplier to the productivity, right? Now, I will mention with the asterisk over there is, if you already have a PLM installation, right, with no intention of moving to our cloud-hosted service, right, we also offer this remote support, package, right, as a standalone service as well, right? So this is, something you can also take advantage of as well. Now, ultimately, with everything I just mentioned so far, there's always a question of, is it going to be, what's the cost, right, involved, right? And oftentimes we say, if you go the on-prem route, right, number one, there's usually going to be a high upfront cost to, purchasing servers or, and also the physical space, right, to install and the servers, right? But in addition to all of that, there's also going to be, any ongoing maintenance, right? And oftentimes we find that there's, on the on-prem side, there's usually not, backup, or security, right? Even though it should be there, right? It's usually not installed, or it usually takes a backbone or back seat, right? And oftentimes also then there's usually need to have office staff that's in-house with expertise to run and tune, the PLM servers, right? Well, all of that, we can offload to the cloud, right? In terms of having, continuous, maintenance and upgrades, right? Instead of the high upfront cost, right? It's usually just, an ongoing fee, right? To, requisition and use cloud resources, right? And those fees can be, dramatically, minimal compared to, the upfront cost of buying servers, for example, right? And then in addition to that, again, with storage being so dirt cheap on the cloud, you can have very reliable backups so we can set up that run essentially automatically, right? And all of this, again, we can enable with our veteran team of experts, both on the system side and the business side, to ensure that, the way we like to put it is, we at this point, on the cloud would be an extension of your IT team with one goal, which is to ensure that your engineering data is accessible to you and can be utilized by everyone in the organization, right? Okay, so that being said, what questions, do you have that we can go ahead and answer for you? So again, just a reminder, there's the questions or the Q&A section there in the interface that you can, type in any questions you have, and then, we can answer them here on this end. Oh, okay. So one question that comes up is, that just came up is, does your cloud solution include licensing? And I'm assuming, so the way I'm understanding that is from the perspective of, if we have, Windchill, licensing, right? Is that included in our cloud solution? And the answer to that would be no, right? So if you're already paying for, Windchill licensing, for example, right, you would still, continue paying for that, right? We would just offer, a service where we can help you install those Windchill licenses on the cloud infrastructure, right? But oftentimes what we find is that customers with an ongoing, PLM spend, there's often a mismatch between, what you're paying for, right, and what you're actually using, right? And with a free consultation with someone on our team, right, we can help you minimize that gap to ensure that, you're only paying for what you're using, right? And oftentimes, we find, customers start with us by saying, hey, here's our spend. Can you help us analyze and make sure that we're not throwing money away, right? And in addition to that as well, again, the other question that came up that's similar is, am I going to have two bills, right? Am I going to have a bill from the cloud service provider, and also then a bill from ETRAGE. And for us, the answer to that is no. It's going to be one bill, right? So we have our own accounts with the cloud service provider, so we have economies of scale because we do this for hundreds of companies, right? And we provision tons and tons of servers and storage for them, and so we have economies of scale and so we can pass on those savings to you as the end customer. And so ultimately you would see one bill, right, from ETRAGE that includes our services plus anything with regard to the on the cloud side, all wrapped into that one, right? Okay. Another question I see over here is, is the cloud really that cost effective, right? Compared to, for example, having something like on-prem. And I would say aside from versus having something on-prem, the other alternative could be if you already have your own cloud budget, right, where you already purchased hours or credits from AWS, for example, right? Well, if you already purchased it there, can't you just run your own cloud that way, right? And for us, what we found is that number one, the cloud is very cost effective, right, compared to an on-prem solution. And also, if you're just talking about cloud to cloud, right, our ability with our economies of scale to provision and run of the cloud service, right, oftentimes is comparable to to what an organization would do if you had to go provision it yourself from AWS, for example, right? So, and we've actually had customers do that where they've gone to compare costs from us and from AWS and come back and say, what, you guys are on par and even better, right? And then plus to top it all off with our expertise in managing and installing and running, right, the PLM applications, right? All of that means it's usually a much better solution to go with a hosted cloud environment from ETRAGE. And then another question that just came up is, it says, well, actually, two questions. So one is, does it matter if I'm on, InfraLink, currently, can I still move over to the cloud? And the answer to that is yes, right? Since InfraLink is, an old and unsupported, system currently, what we would do is it would involve, a move from InfraLink to PDM Link, right? And then from PDM Link to, to the cloud, right? And all of that, we can handle as one bundled services, contract, right? Could we take care of for you as well? And then the next question, that came in almost at the same time is, well, if I do not currently have Windchill, right? Can I get a trial of it? And how quickly can I start with a generic instance, for example? And for that, I'll say, essentially, we can, being able to have this on the cloud, in less than a day, right? You could go with, not having Windchill to say, hey, can I get a trial of this and can I use it and see what benefits it provides in terms of PDM and PLM access, right? In less than a day, we can get you set up with your own login, URL, credentials, and you can go, get started and kicking tires, with it. And another question that just came in over here is saying if I already have engineers using Creo and Windchill, and you're interested in giving access to other departments, right? So especially the procurement department and also the shop floor, for example. Do you need to buy more Windchill licenses to do that, right? Or does going to the cloud make these extra licenses unnecessary? And for that, I'll say so do you need to buy more licenses to expand to other parts of the organization? I would say not necessarily, but ultimately the answer to that is, you can talk with us, right, and we can, have a free consultation with you, right? What we've often found is, again, like I said, there's often a mismatch between what companies are paying for in terms of the licenses, right, on the Windchill side versus what they're actually using, right? And so we can do a consultation with you and to understand what you're doing, what you need to do, right, and what you're paying for, and we can see whether we can bridge that gap to make sure that maybe yes, you can, give access to other departments, procurement, shop floor, while maintaining the same spend, or even in some cases reducing spend, right? Because we can optimize it and use different licenses that may be cheaper or things like that, right? And so that would essentially require a consultation with our team, right, on that. And if it does not save you money, by all means, you could you don't have to go that route, for example, right? Okay. um um that is everything I'm seeing here in terms of questions. I'm not seeing any others pop up. And I'd like to, maybe we could end the webinar here. Thank you so much for tuning into today's webinar. And yeah, again, don't hesitate to, take a look at our website, etrage.com, click on the webinar, the events tab, I should say, and you can, keep an eye out for any future upcoming webinars we have, yeah, coming up. Thank you so much. Have a good one.